So I want to talk about the Championship so far. I'm a QPR fan, Dom is a Brentford fan, and look, we're a good few games in, 12 games in.
It's over a quarter now.
That's over a quarter.
Amazing, isn't it?
Good maths. Yeah, that's quick, isn't it? And do you know what? They do come thick and fast, the games. It's
7
crazy.
games in each month so far, and it'll be 7 after this as well.
After this one.
Yeah,
like QPR, we've got... do you know what's really weird? Like, you have a Wednesday and a Saturday game sometimes, and sometimes you have a Wednesday and Saturday at home, and that's weird, and you feel like, God, I'm coming here a lot.
Yeah.
But we've got
here a lot.
we've got Tuesday, Friday at home.
Isn't it?
Tuesday night against... I've gone blank. Might be... No, it's not Ipswich. We've got Ipswich next.
You've got Ipswich away, haven't you? Now?
Yeah, I can't remember who it is. But then we've got Aston Villa at home on the Friday, which I'm fascinated to see them. I think we've...
Dean Smith,
yeah. Well, yeah, there you go. I mean, first of all, let's talk about that before we dive into a few of the different teams. Dom's, as I say, written an article about the expected goals and a few kind of truths that you get. Because I think it is after about 12 games, you are starting to see the truth. But I think you're sort of 70% there in terms of the truth of it. And the Championship can like turn around like that. It's crazy, isn't it? Like and we'll talk about Brentford, because I think a lot of people will start to take notice of Brentford to a higher degree this season, because I think you're going to be right in the hunt. And like, if you look at the top goal scorers of the Championship, Neil Maupay top with 10 goals.
It's amazing, really.
3 assists. Let's start with Brentford before we then dive into Sheffield United and all these other teams. And I'll talk about QPR as well, because often people are writing in the comments talk about QPR, so I will. But let's talk about Neil Maupay first. 10 goals, 3 assists. For anyone who doesn't know much about him, but again, I think Birmingham and Leeds fans aren't fans of him, because he's been
I don't think I would be if he wasn't a Brentford player.
Yeah, because he loves a little dive, doesn't he?
Dive, no, he doesn't like it, but he's dirty.
Right.
I think Suarez.
Right. Okay.
He is. In fact, he said that he's one of these idols.
Oh, really?
In an interview. Yeah, he said Suarez. I can't remember the other one, but I don't think he was particularly...
Ian Marshall.
It might have been Chicharito, but...
Oh, really?
But anyway, so he puts himself about. He's a nightmare for defenders. He's small, he's stout, he's strong, but he's not...
and where does he come from?
He's from Nice, in France.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Nice.
And so yeah, and he didn't really fire in all cylinders in the first season. It took him a while to get used to the game, but now he's really clinical. He's
and he's up top through the middle.
Yeah, he's out and out. Full striker. So
yeah,
but he's brilliant, and he's converting a lot of chances. 85 minutes per goal, it says here, and that's literally a goal a game, isn't it? And
yeah,
that's quite incredible. Yeah, he scored 10 goals and he's been suspended as well for a few games.
Well, and so, when in the article that you were writing, you were talking about Brentford and how, and I'll play a bit devil's advocate with this, because Brentford often do well in expected goals and things like that, and it hasn't got you there yet. But that fits into the kind of Brentford model of sooner or later, luck is a huge part of football, and sooner or later, if you are looking good in expected goals and things like that, then sooner or later things will click. You will get the luck, and you'll get it. Yeah. And even if you don't, you're still doing everything in your power to make sure you're okay as a club in the league. And Brentford have played any Championship fans will know Brentford have played great football for a long time, certainly since the League One days as well.
Yeah.
And they're now, in the last sort of 4 years, I guess you had the first season where you came up and you were flying, had a group of players that people didn't realise were as good as they were, and then kind of inevitably got picked off a few of those players. People like Tarkowski, people like Alex Gray, who people will obviously know about now from being regulars in the Premier League. And Tarkowski's gone to play for England.
Yeah, Scott
Hogan, of course, who's kind of gone to Villa, but for big money. It hasn't totally worked for him. Is he starting for them? I don't know.
He has had a few injuries, but now that Smith's gone there, I think he will start.
Yeah, he'll be delighted, won't he, with Dean Smith going
Absolutely.
there. And so the Brentford manager Dean Smith has gone to Villa now. Did well at Walsall before. Has done really well at Brentford.
Yeah.
Overall, yeah,
definitely.
And how do the fans feel about him leaving?
I think they liked him. I think the fans really liked him. But I think no Brentford fan panics really, because as soon as anything leaves the club, no matter how good it is, it just gets replaced.
Yeah.
As part of the machine. There's just a way of playing, and there's almost a feeling at the moment that whatever goes, no matter what position it is, other than Matthew Benham, the owner.
Yeah.
But it's an opportunity to replace with something different, or I wouldn't say better, but
of a similar standard, yeah. And that's amazing about that. Any other football fan will be going, right, who are we getting in? I've never heard of him. Whereas Brentford, like I chatted to Adam in the office, a Brentford fan as well, and he's like, yeah, he apparently played for like Danish second division team, but I'm sure he'll be great.
Yeah,
like, you just know, you're wary if you know the name.
Yeah, like there's a few like going about, like I think Mark Cooper, who's a good coach, ex Swindon.
Yeah.
And no one wants him because they've heard of him.
Right, you want that kind of random name from Denmark, from Scandinavia, or somewhere like that. It makes exactly. You feel comfortable in those surroundings. So having watched 12 games of Brentford, well, you know what I mean. Few and far, pretty much all of them. You're 7th in the league, haven't won in 5.
No,
but you were saying that you should be bang on for the playoffs.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do look at expected goals, I know like some people.
What are your thoughts on expected goals?
I think it's not entirely accurate, but I believe that it is more accurate way of judging the table now than any other metric.
Yeah, fair enough.
So judging expected points or expected goals, I think is better at this stage than any other. Other indicator. And so do you because you say you're saying you listen to the podcast, and so this is on the James Lawrence Allcott channel, our predictions for the start of the season for the Championship. And you said you had to listen back, and you were saying a lot of what we were saying is well. Kind of. Yeah, do you think it's doing well? Is it? I can't really remember too much of it. As a collective,
right?
There's a few which we've got wrong.
Yeah, so far.
But even Forest being up there now is still there. We're Ipswich, Reading, Hull. There's a bunch of the majority of what we said was right, which is quite pleasing.
So let's run through some of the teams, and one was Leeds United. It's the team that Brentford played last. 1-1 draw, wasn't it, in the end?
Yeah, drew 1-1. Yeah.
Leeds have had done really well so far. 3rd in the league. Just dropped off the top spot, I think it might have been with that game, or they were certainly right up there.
Yeah,
that top 3 is Sheffield United, West Brom, and Leeds. What were your thoughts on Leeds and the thing that the negative that people are throwing at Leeds is that they're going to run out of steam?
Yeah, but I think that's lazy.
That'll happen?
I think that's lazy, somewhat, because that's an assumption, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's a hope, isn't it?
Yeah,
you can't see the tank.
I think they're the real deal, Leeds. They were missing some 3 or 4 key players against us,
right?
But they still had a way of playing. They looked good.
They look so slick in their passing in some of the other games that they've seen. Like Craig obviously saw them first game of the season for Stoke, and I do think sometimes that you see that people get hit off guard in that first couple of games, because you kind of go, you're just seeing how good you are. It's like 2 boxers. You never know how good they are until they kind of go face to face.
Yeah.
Stoke City, and I thought that would happen. They would get the shock of their lives going into the Championship.
Yeah,
because they were, I spoke to Elliot, Hackney, and Craig as well. They thought, and understandably so, the squad is so good that it should be doing really well in that league, and I think inevitably it will do. That was another thing that you saw, that Stoke are at the moment 14th in the league. And it is so tight. They're 3 points off the playoffs right now, and like you say, with another 7 games coming up quickly, they could be in the top 6 quite quickly.
After the calculator came out, Stoke City worked out that Stoke City are actually the 6th best team statistically in the division.
Really,
based on expected goals.
I think with what's probably being highlighted now, which I don't think we would have looked at it that way before, is that there are so many big teams in that league now, teams with Premier League players. So when they do lose 1 or 2 games, which is still possible, even against teams that don't have the same squads, like QPR or the same names, it's a massive shock, and they're kind of in this digital age where everyone can get angry over one defeat. You see the Stoke City fans kind of struggling with it, because it's a different situation. You're in the Premier League, you're going, if you get a win, you're like, yes, you're buzzing, and look, if you don't win off the 5, then you're starting to have a panic, but you know that can happen. Whereas in the Championship, you go, okay, well now this is beneath us now. You naturally get any fan who says otherwise is lying a little bit, because you have a squad that was in the Premier League, and therefore you go, well, we should be get wins on a play. It should be easy, and it just doesn't. It's so much harder than that. I think they're starting to figure it out though. And
I guess the thing, it's easy to form narratives like that as well. Like, it's easy to go.
Same with Villa, isn't it?
With any team, especially big teams, it's the ones who come down, and it's very easy to form narratives. But if you look at the table, like Stoke City, they were all their fans were saying how badly Gary Rowett was doing, and there's 3 points off the playoffs now.
Yeah, it's bad, but I guess. I expect, they'll continue to rise. You would have thought there is that natural sifting of like the teams with the epic squads, especially when there's so many games playing. Because what happens when you start to get to December, January, February, injuries and suspensions, crucially as well. Like often those bigger crucial midfielders, those crucial centre backs, you'll lose one or two because they'll start getting enough bookings, and that'll be a problem for them. And I'm sure it's going to be a problem for QPR at some stage.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Other teams we want to talk about, Sheffield United, top of the pile, shows how Wilder's just like, I think he's like a good father figure, like, and a proper northern bloke, and so they're not really. I know it probably sounds a bit lazy in itself, but like they're clearly well drilled. He's not taking anything for granted. Well, he doesn't allow his team to take anything for granted, and he also has got a squad there with quite a few names of guys who've been around for a while, like. Billy Sharp's won him 7 goals so far this season. He's been around for ages, and you always see him and you go, he's not really good enough for the Championship, is he? But he gets the job done, doesn't he?
He's a good striker, isn't he? He's a good finisher. And I've got McGoldrick as well, who's been around for a few years, isn't he?
I've always liked McGoldrick though. I always thought when he was at Ipswich, I thought he can do a little bit better than that. But, and then you got Liam Clark there as well.
Yeah. I think he's still there.
Yeah,
but it's interesting. What I look a little bit deeper about Sheffield United, and what's really interesting is that they're, out of all the clubs in the league, they spend the least amount of time in the centre of the park, and most of the attacks come through wide.
Oh right.
And Oliver Norwood's gone there now, and like their fans are raving about him.
Really.
And his range of passing. He was Reading, yeah. I don't think he was lauded that much at Reading, but he basically, like, apparently gets the ball and he hits the ball out wide, and you can see that by the stats. And then they've got loads of little players like Duffy and the young lads that they've got in going forwards on out wide.
Yeah.
And then they play 3 at the back. So they've got Egan in now from Brentford, who was probably.
And they were good defensively last season, weren't they? I think they had one of the best defences last season.
Yeah, they had Stearman, I think, last year.
Yeah.
But they brought Egan in, and I say this in not an additional way at all. Like, he was worst like ball playing centre back. Yeah. And he's done really well, and you can see that. You can see how that would happen in that 3. You can see how once he learns it.
Yeah. And then you got someone like Billy Sharp or Leon Clark. That's old school hold up men. Because that's I was chatting with Dad the other day. He was talking about international football, and he said everyone just plays the same now. You go centre back to centre back to centre back. Right? Should we try and play it now? And often you haven't got players who are good enough to do that. And I still think I don't think it's outdated just yet. I think you've got to respect it sometimes. And actually, you see it with say even Sarri at Napoli when he was there. They would keep it there just to deal with the press, and they would play it around in triangles and stuff like that. But then they would look to make a quick pass forward. And with Sheffield United, if you haven't got all great ball playing centre backs, that's not the end of the world. If you've got wingers who can do something, and if you've got hold up men who can bring people into play, because that's not. I reckon being a good hold up man is probably easier than it used to be, because no one's really going to go through the back of you like they used to. And so now, as long as you get yourself in between, you should be alright in terms of holding up the ball. No one can really kind of drive through you. So if they play that way, there's no problem with that. And then you get the ball up the other end of the pitch, and then from there you can start to do stuff. Yeah, with the little guys that you're talking about. Sheffield United there. So we'll look down the bottom. Let's get on to QPR. Because the people want it today. Probably not. But anyway, who is going to win that league? Do you think Sheffield United can keep going? Do you think Leeds United?
I don't think Sheffield United are going to win the league. I think that they're going to be top 6. I think.
Who's your top 6 now?
My top 6.
Has it changed?
I can't remember exactly who I said now. I'd have to look back. But I think. I think out of those teams, I did say Nottingham Forest would be in there. I'm not so sure now. I'm not so, even though they're sitting in fifth. I think
initially I went West Brom, Middlesbrough. I think I had Swansea in there, who I wonder about now. I agree. I think Brentford are so drilled now as a football club. I think it could be your time. Derby County I saw last week for QPR. We got a draw, but you could see they were good. You could see they had quality and they hadn't clicked together yet. Their age might hurt them.
Yeah.
I wonder up top. I wonder if that will get to him. I'm not sure if. I wonder if Mason Mount, if the pressure gets put on him, and I think they were the guy that they looked to a lot of the time. He kind of they would get the ball, and the sort of four attacking players would go right up top, and then look to drop in to pick up the ball in those areas. And Mason Mount was the main man that they were kind of looking for. And he's clearly a good player, but I wonder if he's good enough in such a competitive league to get them through.
It remains to be seen. Derby County, they were the best. They're the only team to outplay us this season, apparently.
Right. I guess they beat you, didn't they?
They beat us 3-1.
Yeah.
Although I would argue Birmingham did well against us, but Derby County, I'm not sure if they'll. I still don't think they'll finish in the playoffs.
It's such a tough league. Let us know in the comments below. Love to know what you guys think about the season so far, the teams that you've played against. If you've gone to watch a championship side, who's impressed you, which players impressed you, and which team you think is not that good. Because me and Dom had it the other year. We were like, Reading are a myth. They're not decent, and somehow they were able to get in the playoffs that season. But the season after, they really, really struggled, didn't they?
That's a good example, Reading, because they're Rasmus Ankersen, who is one of the co-directors of football at Brentford.
Right.
He does a YouTube video which is well worth checking out. It's a TED talk in Manchester, and he uses Newcastle United. Remember when he finished fifth?
Yeah. Pardew, wasn't it?
Yeah. And basically he uses that example to explain like why companies fail. And basically they finished fifth, and everyone thought all the narrative was they're then so well, yeah. So, and then the same reasons, the same squad was having a different narrative the next season. Basically, that Newcastle United got extremely lucky. Their goal difference was -5. And then
really,
they finished fifth. I think it's -5. I think.
Right.
Or +5. I can't remember now.
Yeah, it was not much either.
And yeah, so it's interesting. It's interesting to see because they finished like 17th or something the next year,
and they weren't doing that much more. And so, what does he say? He's saying you need to strip the narrative away.
Yeah, he's just saying you need to understand like whether or not your success is due to luck or not. His exact words was it was luck turns success turns luck into genius or something along those lines. I can't remember now, but
that's good. I like that. Okay, right. Let's talk QPR. So 8 points from 14 points from the last 8 games. At the start of the season, people will know that I was like, what are we doing with this clown? What are we doing with McClaren? Why is he our manager? And the first 4 games were embarrassing, and you saw how much of a mess we were in. And I think with McClaren, people are ready to go. People are ready to kind of get on his back if he doesn't win those games quickly. And even recently, after we had a couple of bad results, but then we're able to sneak a win away at Reading and get a draw against Derby. There is still a problem with him, and my problem with him, he's so grating.
It's a personality problem.
It's a personality problem for me because I don't understand how he can inspire, and I think that's such a crucial part of management and such a crucial part of a successful team and such a crucial part of a squad that is young. And what happened was Holloway lost his job because they wanted someone to take this exciting group of youngsters forward. 4 games in, and McClaren is saying out loud to the press, this squad's not good enough, this squad's not strong enough. This is the exact same squad. Actually, I'm being unfair there. It was the exact same squad to a point, but you'd lost Anua, you'd lost Jack Robinson, who got sent off in the last game for Forest. I'm missing someone as well. I think someone else might have gone as well. But you lost
keeper.
Yes, Smithies. Yeah.
Smithies.
So a crucial part of the team. So the reinforcements was one guy, Tony Leisner, this guy from Union Berlin, who's our captain, came straight in as captain, and you kind of thought, this doesn't feel right. And when you've been relegated as a fan, you kind of go, I start to go, I've seen this before. That said, he was able to get the panic button was pressed, and they were like, right, they realised they've got a transfer embargo in January. We need to get through this entire season, and we need to make sure we can stay up. And we needed strikers. We needed people who could score goals. So they went and they got in Naki Wells, and they brought in Tamer Hamed. I always struggle with his name. And the next game was Wigan at home. We just lost 7-1 to West Brom, 3-0 to Bristol City, and we got the win. They played those two up front. We played okay, but we got the win, and that was important. And since then, as I say, the away form is better than it was under Holloway, and you've got to kind of give credit to that. But overall, I still worry. There's such a tight league, and the quality in the squad is very, 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 very thin. And I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy who's just got a problem forever because I liked Holloway. I got Holloway and understood Holloway, and he allowed me to kind of believe that with our help you can be something a bit bigger and better. And when McClaren got the job, I was like, this is on you. This is on you, Ferdinand. Like, because he's failed time and again, and he's tried every different manager. He's gone with the high profile guy Mark Hughes and spent loads of money, and it failed. Then he brought in the old fashioned guy who knows how to get the job done, Redknapp. I mean, it was ups and downs with it, but ultimately left the club struggling in terms and with a ridiculous wage bill. Then he brought in the youngster, the guy who's going to bring in the youth in Ramsey, gave up on that. Then he brought in the exciting foreign coach in Hasselbank, gave up on that early. Holloway came in and did everything that was asked of him, and he was the fans' favourite, the guy who knew the club, the guy who's had the spirit for the fight, and they gave up on him too quickly as well. And so Ferdinand's neck is on the line, has to be on the line, because if we get relegated, when the 2 seasons Holloway's been there, we've been overall comfortable in that league, and in a league where he's cut the wage bill, and in a league where there's so much money spent. I looked at the Derby game. He had all these players that they had already starting the game. He brought on, who did he bring? I think he brought on David Nugent. And I know he's getting on, but he's gone for a lot of money to a lot of different places. Tom Huddleston came on.
Yeah, they've got a good squad. Yeah.
And that's a squad that you're saying is not good enough for the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm saying it probably won't make the playoffs. Yeah.
So look, if McClaren keeps us up, then fair play. I'm not singing his name yet. I'm not there yet. There are moments when you think he's kind of figuring it out, but the bottom line for me is that he's relying on his coaching skills, not on his ability as a manager. Because the people that we've brought in a load of old guys, which goes exactly against the reason Holloway lost his job. So he's still got a lot to prove for me, but. For us to be 18th with 14 points, that's a good 5 points clear of the relegation at the moment.
Yeah,
I'm pleased with the upturn in form.
Well, you would be maybe interested to know that on expected goals,
here we go.
That Queen's Park Rangers are actually 13th.
13th
in the league.
Okay.
So by that, it's saying that there's been a little bit of misfortune.
Yeah, but that's interesting. I think we've got some players who are exciting and can do something in a game, and if he plays them right, Naki Wells is a good, solid Championship player with good hold-up play for a smaller guy.
I've always.
He works so hard.
Yeah. How old is he now?
I don't know. I think he's 27 or something. I would have guessed.
I remember that Huddersfield. It's like banging them in.
He hasn't scored too many for us, but he does.
I mean, Huddersfield years ago.
Yeah, but you appreciate his endeavour, and you can see that. You can see he's got the quality to play with the good players that are behind him, and the key players for us off Luke Freeman,
in midfield,
and Abir Eze, yeah, and Jeff Cameron, another older guy's come in last minute as well, and he has a bit of physicality as well, and he's steady.
I was worried about your back line.
Yeah, the centre backs is a massive problem, and I'm amazed they didn't go and get someone better. I think he's hoping that Darnell Furlong will be the guy, because he came of age against Brentford. I know he lost the game, but he had to step in at centre back, and there's a guy who's been playing right back his whole career, and it's really nice when you see a player kind of naturally go up and be good enough, and he's definitely good enough. If we can get through the season and we're not playing League One football next season, I'll be delighted. But am I ever really gonna? I have to detach myself from the figurehead of the club, because I just don't. He just grates on me, and when I watch McClaren's interviews, I just don't buy it. I think he's made. I know all managers make up excuses, but I just don't believe in him yet. I'm not there yet.
Fair enough.
That's that. Final one. Preston North End, 22nd. Won the last game 4-0 against Wigan. They're not going to be down there for long, are they?
So they're the most unlucky team defensively in the league. They conceded 10 goals more than what the model says, which is which is a huge difference. Usually it's one or two or something like that. And
fucking hell!
But for them, that they've been unlucky, very unlucky.
I predicted at the start of the season. I thought they'd be right up there because they had a lot of the same guys. It's Ben Pearson that he was talking about.
He's still there. He's class. Ben Pearson. He's been suspended as well for 3 games, but that's the first 3 games of the season. But they've left it obviously way too late now because it was quarter of the way through the season, unfortunately for them, and I don't think they've got enough quality to make up that gap.
Yeah,
but they'll be mid-table.
It's only 9 points.
It's 10
points.
It's 10 points, but it's also It's as you say, the teams up there have good quality.
Okay. Well, let us know in the comments below what you think of your championship team or any of the other championship teams in the comments below.
Do we have time to add one more?
Go on. Is it Sheffield Wednesday?
It's actually Birmingham City.
Oh yeah.
Sheffield Wednesday are punching slightly, by the way, but Birmingham City, they expect them to rise very far in the league. They've got they talk about goal distribution, so they've drawn a lot of games. And if they were to lost one of them by 2-0 and won another one 2-0 rather than drawing 2-1-1, then they would have had more points. So it's they've drawn 8 games this season already. So I'd watch them.
Okay,
they're going to rise
all the way.
I think they'll
outside.
I think they'll make playoffs.
Okay.